In the last video, I finally got the engine from the donor Integra in the Civic and all connected. In this video, I finished buttoning it up and I finally get to see if it runs. I guess it's time to put the headers on. So I'm gonna go ahead and take these nuts off and position the headers. All right, throwing on the new gasket. Get on that. So I have an OEM one off of this engine, or I have this 4-to-1 one piece. Don't know what brand it is, but I think it'll work. It is ugly. I think the OEM one looks better than this, but why not? Give it a shot. So it was a tight fit. Had to move some things, but I was able to get it in. Yeah, at some point, I'm definitely gonna have to revisit this because it is not pretty. It's not gonna be run long term. Part I left out earlier when I was putting the header in, I took this bracket off so that the AC line could lean this way, and that allowed me to pull the header in over here and shift it toward the driver's side. Yeah, so I'm putting that back on now. I just wanted to let you know before I forget. And I have some belts. So I gotta see which belt is the alternator belt and which belt is the AC belt. So a quick search showed that the 310 K4 was for the alternator, so I'm going to try this one, the other one, on the AC bracket. And next is the AC belt, which is easier to access from down here, but easier to tighten from up top. So maybe this isn't the right belt, because if it goes over that, it is not going to make it over this. Yeah, there's no way. So to hook up the AC, I will need another belt. So that will go on the back burner. In a previous video, I had an extra plug, and now I know where it goes. It goes to the oxygen sensor on the B series header. The D series and the B series just have them in different locations. So now all the plugs are accounted for. All right, and this I should have put in before. This bolt goes here. So this will be the last thing I do before I go inside for a little bit. So with the headers mounted, I want to see if this exhaust, even though it's not ideal, will connect to these B series headers, and it won't. So I'm gonna go grab the exhaust from the donor Integra, which is a bit raggedy and it's aftermarket, so it's gonna be louder than this one, but that's the game we're playing right now. Let's see if I can get lucky with this guy. Not so much. What about on this side? Nope. So for this front section, there is just this one hanger. So now, pretty sure that's free. Now, just the back section. All right, as it turns out, the lower hangers are much easier to take off than the top. All right, now let's compare the two exhausts and see if we get lucky. The exhausts look very similar. Laid them out, and the one on the left is the stock 95 Civic EX exhaust. The one on the right, some kind of aftermarket exhaust I got off the auction Integra, and they look the same. Meaning, if one worked, I could swap the other one over. But the fact that I was short on that header makes me wonder. So maybe what I'll do is start the front and see if with the hangers and some of the play you have with them, if I can make it work. But I couldn't use the stock one anyway because this is the wrong angle. So with this one being the right angle, I may be able to make it work. So I'm gonna get under there, bolt it up, see if it works. I had to swap out for some better bolts because the holes on this aftermarket exhaust were so big that the OEM nut wouldn't clamp, and I do not remember where I put the nuts for this when I took it apart. So I'm gonna try to bolt it up with these. So got those in place, they're not tightened down. I'm gonna work my way back and see if the hangers are all in the right location And now I only got to bolt up the back part because the front and the middle section were not separated. I don't know how good the lighting is, but these hangers are very close to lining up. I might need some slightly longer ones, but they're like right there. So I'm gonna see if the ones on the OEM exhaust are any longer. I doubt it, but it's worth a shot. All right, so the bend is not in the right location. It's a little too far toward the front of the car. So it hits. You need to figure out a way to either get another exhaust or move that back. So I might not get to start the car tomorrow. I'm gonna think about this. The OEM exhaust needed some work anyway. I had noticed this when I did some lower control arm work. It had holes in it and exhaust was coming out a lot of places before the rear bumper. So I can't do the exhaust tonight, but I think I have a solution on the way, thanks to Amazon. But what I can do is put oil in it and put the radiator on and add coolant. I think that's it. And the annoying PCB solution, but I'll take care of that too. So yeah, I'm gonna put some fluids in this thing and then I'm gonna go to bed. So as you can see, this tubing might not work. It looks like this tubing will work though. I just moved I don't know if I got this stuff routed right. I just moved the intake so you could see it a little better. I really believe this stuff should have been routed differently, but I don't know how I would route it. But anyway, this is going on right here. Maybe I'll go look at an Integra and see how things are routed. So I made some decisions. I decided to reroute this, and I decided to see if the tubing off the donor Integra would fit better, because I do remember that this was hard to get on, and the tubing for the Integra is that much bigger. So maybe I'll be able to get it on. Thought about it when I was looking for this tubing, and that is really hard to get on there. So I'm gonna take this off and use the Integra tubing, and then see if I can, yeah, I think I brought the tubing from the Integra for that too. That is definitely the size intended for this, and this fits perfect. So I think that was a good decision. Perfect, like it was meant to be. See, that's the way it's supposed to go on. When I put that on before, I really had to fight it. Maybe I just routed it so wrong from over there that things aren't lining up. But anyway, I'll connect everything. I can revisit this later if it bothers me enough. So I did have the Integra tubing in my truck. So I'll take this off, which is not the right size. It's the right size for this car, but not the right size for this radiator. It looks like it might not have been OEM tubing, but something someone made work. I'm gonna put some water in it just to check to see if there's any leaks. But I have this fancy kit that I use to bleed my radiators and coolant systems, but there wasn't one that would work for this. So I'm gonna fill it up and then go to sleep. Okay, it stopped taking water, so I'm just gonna let it sit like this overnight. I'll listen. Nope, it took some more. All right, well, I'm gonna let it sit like this. I may even hook up the battery and prime the fuel system. One last thing to address before I go to bed. The computers. The one on the right is the one that came from the auction Integra. I mean, I know it's the right one, but look at it. It is in terrible shape. But this one should be able to run the engine. So I'm gonna throw this one in. This is from, I wanna say this is from an Integra I had years ago. I'm glad I kept it. right, these have been in here forever, so let's see if they want to come out. All right, let's plug back up. It should plug right up. All right, time to go to bed. So I have a temporary PCV solution. This is not the type of PCV valve that needs to be held vertical. It's one that will slowly vent pressure. It's not ideal because the ones for these cars are designed to be used vertically. So I'm going to use this, but it's not ideal. So I'm going to cut the tubing and put it on. I have an adapter here that will go to and from the size tubing that will connect to the manifold. Basically, I was in an auto parts store and I wasn't leaving without a solution. So this is what I came up with. All right, that's good enough. I'm gonna have to take a break because some parts that I'm waiting for the exhaust and the throttle body are not here yet. They're arriving today, but they're not here yet. So I'll be back. All right, so I ordered some throttle cable bracket from Amazon. I gotta see which one was gonna work. Hope one of them works. So I got that one to work with the original cable, but I am on the very edge of these threads here. So I may revisit that, but for now, that's good enough. I got a new tube to run from here to here. Have to connect this tubing for the fuel line and then back underneath to work on the exhaust. Ooh, that's a bit tight. And to remedy the exhaust length issue, I got this. So this is just under 3 inches of length and it should bolt right up to the exhaust. Let's see. Bam! So I'm gonna put this on the second section because if I put it on the first section, the first set of hangers won't line up. But if I put it on the second, or between the second and the third, this should make everything line up pretty good. And luckily, I had some hardware lying around. That should work just fine. Yeah, that should do the trick. Let's see if these will cooperate and come off. I sprayed them last night with some PB Blaster. They do not want to cooperate. Let's see what a little bit of leverage will do. I forgot to get gaskets, but this will serve as like a proof of concept until I get everything fully sorted. But, all right, let's see if I can put these hangers on. That might make it a little easier to finish the rest. It doesn't like these hangers are gonna reach. So those hangers are not gonna work. I tightened those up a little more. So now I'm gonna see if these back hangers will work at all. So there's that hanger here that I'm hoping this one will mount up. All the turns line up now, and it just might. Hey, that doesn't look bad, but it's touching up front. I'm gonna see if I can get this a little longer, but yeah, it's not bad. This hanger just gives it slightly more space. Let's see how much that helps me. That actually did help a bit. I mean, it's hitting a little bit, but I think it's just hitting the heat shield, and I think I can go up and bend the heat shield back. So I'm gonna put this back section on, and then I think we're good to go. Since these and the hangers from the donor car look exactly the same, I'm just gonna use these. I'm not hopeful that this is gonna fit because, I mean, I think this is a bit too tight, but I'm gonna give it a shot. That is not gonna work. I'm already hitting. What to do? So I need some hangers that are like 4 inches. I'm gonna try something, but don't laugh at me, or laugh, because it's gonna be funny. Got some carabiners. This is not something I would drive with, but it is something I would bolt up, take some measurements, and try and start it with. So let's see if this gives me the length I need. That's way too much length. So ideally, it's set up a lot tighter. Let me connect the other section. I think that looks pretty good. I'm about to call it quits for tonight, but I would love to give it a shot. So I am going to tighten this up and see if it'll start. Still gotta swap out the transmission fluid, but I'm not gonna shift it. I just wanna see if it'll start with all these old parts. All right, just hoping I have everything connected. Making sure the fuel pump comes on. Well, it tried. I wonder if it's getting all the things it needs. Fuel, spark, air, who knows? I know one of these spark plug wires, I didn't like the way it looked or the way it connected. I am going to replace it with one of the other ones. All right, it was sounding kind of weird, so I double checked the distributor order and I had 1 and 2 switched around. So let's give it another shot. Last shot of the night. All right, that's enough for me. I think it'll run. It is 10 o'clock and I don't want to wake my neighbors up. So I will come back in the morning. I think we're good to go. Well, I know we're not good to go, but I think she'll run. So it's the next morning and we're gonna try it again. So it is running, but there is a terrible noise coming from somewhere. I'd like to think it's something on the exhaust, but it could be a problem with the engine. So I'm gonna dig a little bit and see what it is, but yeah, it actually runs. Needs some work, but it runs. So it's running. It doesn't sound great, but the more I let it idle, the better it sounds. I still have to dial in the timing, new spark plugs, likely new wires too. I'm convinced this thing will move under its own power. Yeah, I'm kind of happy. This engine doesn't have to last long, but it would be cool to get to enjoy it a little while. What sounded terrible before now just sounds like valve train clatter. So maybe just, it's getting warmed up and the oil's getting everywhere it needs to be, things are getting back to where they should. It's sounding better and better as I let it idle. Something I haven't done yet is swap in new transmission oil, so I am gonna do that now. That plug there is the fill port, so I'm gonna see if I can get it off, and I'm gonna take it off with the 17 M&M. This could be stuck on pretty good. Let's see. And it is. Need more leverage. Did that free it? Yeah, it did. Cool, so the fill port is loose. Now I can focus my attention on the drain port. But first, I'm gonna take off the fill. Yeah, I really don't remember if I drained this when I picked up the auction car. But we will find out. And I didn't. Look at that mess. That is nasty. Oh, that stinks. Don't sniff it. All right, I think that is drained enough. Could let it sit overnight, but I don't want to be dealing with this tomorrow. So we're gonna stop it there. Simple tube on the end of a funnel. Put this end in the fill port and fill it up until it starts to come out. So that'll sit nicely there. Just make sure I feed it in. Like that. For now, I'm just using good old 10W30. So I'm gonna start filling it and check out the bottom. I think I can feel from up here and see if it's gonna leak out. All right, you can see it's starting to come out. So I'm gonna put a little bit more in and close it up. Oh boy, I need to go to bed. I am making too many mistakes. One more thing that I need to do to button this up is put this back on. Even though it's a bit damaged, it'll still do its job if I put it back, but I put this on. I should have paid more attention. So I have to loosen this bracket, get this back on. I don't even know if I know where the bolts are. Although this looks cool, and honestly would probably work for a little while, I'm gonna see if I can get these on. These are new hangers, and I didn't know they made them like this. So hopefully this will be long enough to have it sit at least decent enough to drive around. It's not perfect. I mean, it doesn't look crazy. I'd like for it to be centered a little bit like that. So maybe I'll make some adjustments, but it looks like it's hanging pretty good. That I can live with for a raggedy swap. So with a bit of hanger manipulation and moving things around, I was able to get it to mount up and not rattle. Now I'm gonna bleed the coolant and tighten down the axles. So the axles get tightened to 134 foot-pounds. So I'm gonna do that now. And I'll stake it right quick. And I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. So I finally can put the wheels back on, and instead of my black lug nuts, I'm gonna go with these red ones. It's a long story on how I have so many lug nuts. I have blue, neochrome, red, but anyway, I'm going with some red ones. A momentous occasion. At this point, I was very pleased and excited to drive the Civic. In the next video, I'll give it some shakedown drives and start installing parts that make it more livable. If you would like to follow along, hit subscribe. Thanks for watching. Take care.